Hey, it's America's Supermom. Thank you for joining me on my podcast. This series is the Corona Chronicles. I created this so that we would have an outlet of positivity in the midst of a lot of negativity. You know what I'm talking about. All the news, the fear around this virus, how it can affect us, what the new normal is looking like, and how so many things have changed that a lot of people feel like um, it is the end of the world, so to speak. So, this podcast was created so that those of us who have hope, who are willing to move forward with this new normal and innovate new things that will help us to be creative and positive. That is what this platform is for us to come together and share that positivity and that light with those who may need it. So if you're interested in sharing your insight, please reach out because we can never have enough positive news. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Thank you guys for joining me today. I'm really excited about my next guest. Charlotte Terrell was a guest of mine last year on a Facebook Live. And so we organically connected through Facebook. And I'm really excited to have her here today so that she can share her insight, words of wisdom during this global pandemic that we're experiencing right now. So at this time, I'm going to give Charlotte the opportunity to introduce herself, and then we'll dive into the interview.
Hello, everyone. I am Charlotte Terrell, and I am a Midwesterner who has a Southern heart. My parents are from the South, and I moved to the South. And my company is a coaching company as well as speaking. It's Images Motivational Consultants Agency, and Images stands for imparting a message about God's expectation of our success. And it really just kind of speaks to us being our authentic selves, taking off the mask, and what we're finding that we don't like or finding that we're judging and feeling is not okay. Just doing what we can to make it okay and to be okay with ourselves and the world that we're in. So I'll leave it at that.
Love that. Love that. So I'm intrigued by the taking off the mask. I just like to dive right into it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of people that are struggling with, being at home. Their kids are having school at home,
Mm-hmm.
and just this overwhelm and uncertainty. So for somebody who is in this space where we have been used to wearing masks
Right.
and you are now being exposed, so to speak,
Yes.
what would be your advice on the first thing that someone should do in order to make that a healthy transition of removing some of those masks?
I know that one of the things that we have to do in doing the removal of the mask is to be okay with not being okay. A lot of times media and society as a whole just has this persona that we're supposed to be perfect moms, perfect dads, our pets are perfect, everything is supposed to be perfect. But in taking off the mask, we have to realize that we're not perfect. We're not going to be perfect. And it's okay to not be okay. And right now we're experiencing a new situation. A lot of people call it a new normal. And in making that adjustment, we have to make sure that we are finding the good in everything. It may not be a good situation. I mean, people are dying that we love. A lot of things are going on that are not favorable or not happy things. But the things that we do know are things that we have to markedly be thankful for, such as you're not on a ventilator right now. You do have food in your refrigerator. You do have a roof over your head. Nobody's beating you and dragging you down the hall. So these are the types of things that we have to be thankful for. And even if it's just being able to look around and see or have our mental stability, to whatever degree we have that sanity, be thankful for whatever sanity we have, because there are so many things that we could not have or we could be lacking, that we have to be mindful of what is positive that's going on and to be hopeful that things will make a change for the better. And we just have to believe in our hearts that it won't last like this. Like old people say, trouble don't last always.
Love that. And so for people who, this is a practice,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people, like you said, you got the media saying something, and sometimes your family and friends can kind of also echo those things.
Yes.
But what practices would you suggest that people get involved in order to kind of begin that journey of finding the good?
I think that for a lot of people that I've been talking to throughout this pandemic, I've been telling them to unplug. I'm aware that we have to be informed. I mean, it's a good practice to be informed and know what's going on, know what's coming down the pike, know what the regulations are and what they are not. But I don't think that we need to saturate ourselves with the news and with the sensationalism and with the negativity. Some people you may not be able to talk to as often as others. You have somebody who finds negativity or finds the bad and everything. Those people you might have to do some social distancing from those people. Do some unplugging. You know what? I already heard the news today. They said the numbers are this. These are many people died. Let's play a board game. Let's do something fun. Let's turn on some music and dance around the house. So just immediately redirecting those thoughts or actions that bring you down to dark places, because it's easy to get into those dark places and hard to get out. But if you make a practice, and it is a practice, make a practice to try to avoid getting into that place in the first place, then it makes it easier to make it a habit of doing the positive as opposed to the negative.
Love that. Okay. And so now you said you're coaching and speaking. So talk to the audience about ways that you've had to pivot your business during this time, because I imagine it has definitely affected you quite a bit.
Right. Well, with the speaking, as not many forums are open and not many are having people to come and speak, but I'm having to do more online podcasts or online addressing groups, small groups or individuals. And coaching for me has always been online and on the phone. So that really hasn't made that I haven't had to make any adjustments in that area as much. But just with the speaking, that has to be postponed to some degree, or just kind of done in a way that's more online as opposed to on the stage somewhere or in public.
Now, and so for somebody who is in that industry, because a lot of people have been affected with speaking events, for some people that's their total bread and butter. That's all the way that they can get compensated. And so with things being postponed or delayed, what advice would you give them to transition to an online type presence with their speaking? Because some of them may not even be aware of how to market themselves or how to get out there and do that. So what advice would you give them?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I didn't know if I lost you or not. Well, one of the things that I would do is, I know that as a speaker, we get really proud of what we are, what we do. I'm a speaker. That's all I do. That's all I know. That's not all you know, because there are a lot of things that brought you to that point. You didn't just walk out the womb and say, hey, I'm a speaker. You walked out of you were pushed out of the womb, and then you evolved into the person you were, and a lot of experiences you had made you decide that that's the direction you wanted to go in. And I think that whatever direction you want to do right now, it will be temporary. I do believe that we'll be able to get back on stages and get back into the swing of things, but maybe consider doing some online coaching, do some online courses. There's some really cost-effective online courses that people can develop with very little money that they have to put forth. I know that people are kind of strapped for cash. And so, there are some forums that you may want to try that are less expensive or maybe free. Facebook Lives are free. but maybe you could do a Facebook Live and just develop a small group and
Mhm.
charge a nominal fee and talking about a subject that really speaks to you and helps to and will resonate with other people. Right now people are stressed, distressed, depressed, and
Mhm.
they're feeling isolated, lonely, anxious. And so anybody that's talking about ways to overcome those things, you can even transfer those things from stage fright. I think I've heard Les Brown
Mm.
say that anybody worth their salt that's presenting to people, if you don't feel nervous anymore, if you don't feel concerned about what you're going to present and whether it's received or not, then you need to stop speaking. So you can
Mm.
kind of use that as a transferable skill in a coaching of small groups and individuals, where you're talking about how you got over the anxiety of speaking and being received and sending a message that people want to hear and that resonates with people. How did you get over that anxiety? And that will transfer to anxiety, because anxiety is anxiety. And that will
Mhm.
transfer, and people will be able to relate to you being able to use those tools to overcome anxiety, overcome isolation, because you get in front of people and you have that one person that looks like they would rather be anywhere but listening to you. So how do you get over those things? You can use those same skills to develop
Mm.
your coaching business for now, and it may be something that
Mhm.
you ultimately add. It's that book that you've been wanting to write, and if you're marketing yourself as a speaker, then you can market your book, you can market your coaching practice. And I was also saying to maybe pick up a part-time job if you're brave enough
Mm.
to go out into the wild. It's like
Mhm.
the end of days out there, but if you want to glove up and mask up, or some people are choosing to go out barebacked, they
Mhm.
are hiring. So there are part-time jobs that will help to sustain you until you get back into your speaking practice.
I love that. And so, for a lot of people who have all this time on their hand, writing a
Hmm.
book is a good thing that you could do with your time. How would you
Yes.
recommend them doing that? Because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know, it's so intimidating. Can you talk to them about, the timeline or the best way to kind of go about it?
I was actually 17 when I wrote my first book, and I said the same things. And of course, as a teenager, you would imagine, oh, I can't write no book. And of course, people who were older than me were saying, oh, you're 17, you can't write a book. But I wound up writing a book of poetry.
Mhm.
But I mean, you just start by starting, getting those ideas down. Um, there are a lot of forums that you can check grammar, or you can do editing. I mean, people don't like Fiverr, but there are some people that are probably profitable on there that you could use to maybe edit the
Mhm.
materials. Amazon, my book is on anxiety and depression, is on
Mhm.
Amazon. It's very user
Mhm.
friendly. You can go on there once you get it written and edited, and they can even give you some pointers on how to continue to develop the the project.
Mm.
So Amazon, and I'm trying to think, some self publishing companies in your local area may also be able to assist you with motivation
Mhm.
and what's needed and what people are looking for and what you can do. You pitch the idea and they kind of tell you what direction to go in from there. So they're just different avenues. But my first recommendation is to fear not and to get those ideas down,
Mhm.
because your story wants to be heard.
I love
I mean, needs to be heard. Everybody has a
I,
story.
I love that. And so, what about the cost? Because, we always come up with the reasons why we can't do something. So, it's like the money. I don't know the right people. So, what type of investment, and I know it varies for everybody, but just the idea.
Mhm. Well, once you get the draft written and completed,
Mhm.
and don't give yourself, well, it might be a good idea to give yourself a time frame, because I'm writing a book with a friend of mine, and we're just like, girl, have you written? Mm-mm, no, I haven't either. So it's probably a good idea to give yourself a goal,
Mhm.
but give yourself a realistic goal.
Mhm.
Once you get the project completed, um, I know that there are just you'll probably just have to do some research. There are magazines at like the Barnes and Nobles and even, online stores that have the magazines on the writer's guide.
Mm.
And those guides will give you different ranges,
Mhm.
give you the direction. And there was one site, I'm sorry that I can't recall, but they would accept the first 3 chapters of your book for free.
Mm.
And they'll tell you whether or not it's something you need to continue with, what you may need to tweak. And then you kind of go from there, and they kind of give you some ideas about what direction to go from there. So there are different avenues, but I'm not an expert in
Right.
actually getting it out there. The people that I had to do it were people that had done it before. And that's probably your best bet, is people that have actually self-published before or are very close with someone who knows about publication and editing and all of that
Mhm.
kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But the cost with it right now is free because it's just the idea in your head.
Right.
But once you get the project done or get it, started, then you start to look at what direction you want to go as far as the money is concerned.
I love that. And so now talk to us about writing with someone, because that, even, for some people who are afraid, they could think, oh, I'll just grab a friend and we'll just tackle this together so I have accountability. So
Yes.
talk to us about how that came about and some tips for moving forward and navigating through that process.
Okay. Um, of course, you want to find a partner who is has a mutual vision,
Mhm. Mhm.
literal, as far as a literary work is concerned.
Mhm.
And with that, you get with that person and you decide, you set the gap. I mean, some people go as far as to do a contract,
Okay.
and they say, look, I'm going to write this many chapters, you write that many chapters, the money will be split down the middle.
Mhm.
The cost of the project will be split down the middle, and you just kind of do the contract, and then go to have it notarized. You have a copy, they have a copy, and bada boom, bada bing. That's kind of what works for some people.
Mhm.
Other people, with me, like I said, I got a girlfriend. She's an educator, and we just decided we wanted to do something to uplift women.
Mhm.
And so we kind of put our ideas put our heads together, brainstormed about what type of project. We didn't want to be a bellyache and, oh, my husband this, my boyfriend that, and the
Mhm.
kids. We don't want it to be a whining project, but something that is positive and speaks to the strength that it takes to do the things that we do as women. So just kind of brainstorming and coming into agreement about what you want to write. Um, what the type that you want to write. Do you want it to be fiction? Do you want it to be nonfiction? Do you want it to be self help? And then you decide the time frames. Well, let's
Mhm.
make sure that we have this done by June of 2021.
Mhm.
And just kind of go with that. And then that's when the accountability comes into play, where you're just like, Lachelle, do you have your chapters done? Uh, no, I don't. Well, you need to get them done because it is June of 2021. So,
Mhm.
that's when accountability comes into play. And that's probably a good way to start,
Mhm.
especially if this person has written a book before and they know more about you as to how to get
Mm.
out.
I love that. And then now, so, realistically, what's the way that, like you said, do you have your chapters done? That, of course, would vary with the type of book that you're doing, but,
Right.
just speaking about how that is arranged, how that's set up, because, for somebody listening, they're like, well, how do I divide it up? How many chapters this person does? What's the, um, some type of guidance in that?
I think a good way is just to outline what
Okay.
each chapter is going to be.
Mhm.
Um, for me, I work from the back. I'm just a backwards person, so I work from the back and then to the beginning. So I have the
Mhm.
end in mind, and that's
Mhm.
probably a good way for everybody. You have the end in mind. What is the point of the book? What do you want to
Mhm.
convey?
Mhm.
If you're telling your story, what about your story that you want people to
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And what do you want people to glean from that? And then from that, you develop the chapters and what should be in each chapter, and just
Okay.
have a kind of an outline on what, or outline or synopsis of what you want in each chapter.
Mhm. Okay. I love that. Now, so for people who are let's say you've got relationships, you have the whole thing of everybody being together in this quarantine situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, work is at home, school is at home, recreation's at home, everything's at home. What are
Mm-hmm.
some tips that you could coach the audience through on ways to communicate, or, you know, um, to minimize some of that frustration, or, um, fears and things like that?
I think it's good to be open about what your fears are, and
Mhm.
to be in that moment. If you're feeling angry or you're feeling frustrated, it's my birthday and I'm in the house and I can't go anywhere. It's
Mhm.
okay to talk about that. But I
Mhm.
don't recommend that you dwell there. I think that,
Mhm.
again, you redirect the negative feelings by doing something that's positive. Okay, well, we might not be able to go to Florida next month, but maybe for Christmas, we should plan a trip to Florida to see our relatives. And sometimes
Mhm.
even just making the plans is
Mhm.
uplifting. Making the plans,
Mhm.
going to sites, seeing pictures of places you want to go and things that you want to do, and knowing that those things will become available again. Um, having maybe a safe word.
Mhm.
This is not a good day. I'm not having a good moment. I need some time to myself. Um,
Mhm.
or when it's getting too heated, just being able to say, like I said, a safe word. Hey, y'all, popcorn. That means time out.
Mhm.
Everybody go to their separate corners. We'll come back after we've cooled down. So just,
Mhm.
realize, because the culture in your household, what works, what doesn't work, what causes conflict.
Mhm.
Uh-oh, dad's pie is gone. He's gonna be mad. So,
Mhm.
you already know what's gonna happen. So you do what you can to just kind of avoid those situations, and just say, hey, I was hungry. I'm sorry. I'll get you another pie, or I'll bake another pie, or do what you can to alleviate the conflict before it happens. You see it coming,
Mhm.
but you can
Mhm.
sometimes put the fire out before it catches and just kind of destroys the whole house.
Love that. Love that. So good. And so I love that whole thing about being proactive. All right.
Yes.
So tell everybody what is the best way to get a hold of you, and also the name of your book, and any final words that you want to say.
Okay. The best way to reach me, I do check and respond to all of my emails. And
Mhm.
my email address is Charlotte, CHARLOTTE, Terrell,
Mhm.
all one word, Charlotte E. Terrell at gmail.com. And also my website is charlotteeterrell.com.
Mhm.
And you can find out more information about who I am and what I do on that site. And also, LinkedIn, it's Charlotte E. Terrell, and I'm the confidence coach on LinkedIn. So you can
Mm.
reach me that way. And then Facebook, it's Images Motivational Consultant Agency. I've got some videos on that one where you might be able to just get a snippet of who I am, and maybe even a couple of laughs or two to make you feel good. The name of the book is on Amazon. It's on Kindle for $2.99. And the book is Dis-ease. Dis with a dash ease. And it's the 30-day guide to comfort, depression, and anxiety by Charlotte E. Terrell.
Love that.
And it's not broken up. I just don't like, for me, I just don't like to write, well, today you do XYZ and tomorrow you do. So it's not broken up in literally 30 days. But if you put these habits into practice for 30 days, you will notice a positive change in your life.
Love that. Love that.
Yes, ma'am.
So, any final words that you want to share?
Yes, I just want to encourage everybody right now. You know, everybody is throwing around the cliche, we're in this together, but indeed, we are in this together. We've not experienced this before. And you'll have your moments where you'll be in a dark place, but try to do what you can to be proactive and not go into those places. And when you do, put into practice the things that I talked about today, particularly the thanks living. I like to call it thanks living. You're living a life of thanks and you're documenting or noting or speaking those things that you're thankful for. We don't know what tomorrow holds, but what we do know is what's going on right now. Right now, I know I can breathe. I know that my dog is safe. I know that my children are safe. So those are the things that we do know. So let's focus more on what we do know and not fear the things that are unknown.
I love that. Great advice. And I mean, you have given us some great nuggets to think about during this time. And I think it's just being able to have an open, just organic conversation just really can do a lot to kind of pull us out of that dark space.
Right.
Because, you know, you can get pulled into a spiral before you even know it.
Right.
So having very practical things that people can implement today is really a benefit. So I just want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Your wisdom and insight in doing that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And I hope that I was able to give somebody something that they can use. And if I've given you anything, give it away.
Amen. I love that. You're so right, because we have to share. That's a mindset that, you know, a lot of people get caught into thinking everything costs money, but to share something sometimes is free.
Yes. Yes.
So,
yes.
Great point.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Charlotte, and I'm so glad we were able to connect.
Me too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and I look forward to us connecting again.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, you have a great day.
You too. God bless you. Bye-bye.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me on this episode. I really enjoy providing content that inspires and challenges us to be a better version of ourselves. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, please email me at info@LachelleAdkins.com. You can also reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, or my YouTube channel. If there was something in this episode that resonated with you, it probably will resonate with someone else. So please share it. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. But those aha moments, those moments of really getting something and changing your perspective are very, very pivotal in having people change the trajectory of their lives. And so being able to share insightful information so that other people can grow is the easiest thing that we can do as we pay it forward. So again, I want to thank you all for listening. And if you have time, write out a review. Go to iTunes, Anchor, wherever you can find this podcast on any of those platforms, and write a review about what impact this episode had on you, what you learned, or whatever. Any feedback is great because it just helps me to understand what content is really beneficial for those that are listening. So again, I want to thank you all for your support and taking the time to spend some time with me and my guests. And I wish you a wonderful day. Thanks for listening.